I'm Alex Swanzer, and I am going to be your 2017-2018 Science and Humanities CTL. I'm super excited for this year and all of the changes that has happened. I think it's going to be a great year with a lot of collaboration. So, as you see, these are virtual unit previews. Every unit there's going to be an uploaded virtual unit preview where I will be going over everything that you need to know and everything that you will see in each unit. So, without further ado, let's get started and go over the presentation. All right, so we're going to first start with going over the purpose of Unit 1. So the purpose for this unit is for scholars to learn about the different relationships and how the relationships make up who they are as individuals. So the relationships with their families, relationship with their friends, relationships with classmates, teachers, things like that. Throughout this unit, scholars will be able to make observations and communicate what they observed. They will be able to compare and contrast things depending on who they are or where they are. For example, the rules at school are different than the rules are at home. Scholars will be able to learn about who they are and how they connect with friends and family. They'll be able to understand that they can learn about the world by using their observations and experiments. Scholars will also study living things, including themselves, and investigate the basic needs of those living things. Okay, so here next up we have the scope and sequence, and the scope and sequence basically maps out everything for the year. Its purpose serves for teachers to be able to start their lesson planning and tailor their plans to their scholars' needs. I feel like it gives teachers more independence and autonomy when they are planning. I also use this when I'm planning, so it's great. It shows the readiness teaks at the bottom, as well as the progression of teaks. So it starts from kindergarten, first grade, second grade. And then if you look on this one, the next slide, it shows you to the left all of the vocabulary that scholars need to know in this unit. So you could literally take the unit focus that's at the top and then the teaks that are at the bottom, look at those things, and start backward planning your lessons. I did that, and that is how I created my plans from scratch. I just looked at the teaks and went from there. So I feel like this is going to be a great resource for teachers to start planning on their own. Here we have our AMLs, Annotated Model Lesson. We have two different frameworks. The first framework that I'm going to go over is the Instructional Framework 5-Step Model. So this basically is the same as the Gradual Release Model that we already do. You have the opening, which is like the hook and do now. Then the INM, where you introduce and go over new material. GP, where the class discusses things, their scholar-to-scholar interactions, and a summary of material learned. Then you have the independent practice, and this is where scholars should be able to execute mastery of part of the lesson, and then the closing, which is the same as the exit ticket. The next framework is going to be the investigative model. This model, I feel like, is more inquiry-based, so it's really good to use for science lessons. This is more of a discussion and hands-on model. So you have the framing inquiry, which to me is just like the opening or the introduction to new material in the 5-step. You have scholar investigation, which is the guided practice. Then you have discussion and synthesis, which to me is a combination of the guided practice and independent practice. And then at the last part, you have the application verification, which is like the independent practice and exit ticket in the 5-step model. So both of these are really cool, different frameworks that we are going to be using this coming up year. All right, so like I said before in the two previous slides, these AMLs show framework for specific grade levels. They're exemplar lessons or framework that teachers are going to be able to look at to create their own plans. So teachers, you can move things around, add, take away, do whatever it is that you need to do in order to tailor the plans to fit what your scholars need most, or what's going to benefit your scholars the most. Since we are moving away from a one-size-fits-all lesson plan, the PYP themes will not be in the AMLs. However, if you are not sure how to add or incorporate the PYP in your plans, I can help you with that. That's always something that we could talk about during office hours. There will be a total of 10 AMLs. You should be able to also look at first grade's AMLs if you have some higher scholars. There also has been a lot of research on AMLs, and it shows that the framework is what every great lesson has in it. So this is basically a reason why we've moved to the annotated model lessons, because research states that every great lesson has this framework. I want to go back to whenever you look at first grade or second grade AMLs, that they might look a little bit different, but it's all the same purpose. Alrighty, next we're going to be talking about misconceptions. So because we are moving away from the one-size-fits-all lesson plan, this is going to be really, really important to look at. This slide is just a general overview of misconceptions that scholars might have during the unit. You can have more or less misconceptions, but it's important to look at these and figure out what misconceptions your scholars might have as you are getting ready to plan your lessons. So for our unit at a glance, whenever you look at your unit at a glance, you will also find that it goes over potential misconceptions as well. Remember that the unit at a glance gives you an overview of each TEKS and the potential misconceptions scholars might have. This is also a great resource to help with backward planning, because it gives you the amount of days a lesson should take, the TEKS, objectives, misconceptions, and ideas for an assessment. So I feel like this is, if you didn't want to look at the scope and sequence and you just wanted to quickly look at unit at a glance, to start your planning, I would look at this and then go back to your scope and sequence to tie in or add anything. Just use both resources. Both resources go hand in hand, so make sure you're looking at both of these, because it's going to help you with your planning. And next we have our resources. So I'm going to have resources for science and humanities. Usually it'll be 5 science resources, 5 humanities resources, but 10 in all. I will usually include video links in my resources, but for this unit we'll start with science. I'm going to have some STEM Scopes resources up. When we do our hand washing lesson at the beginning of the year, there will be a video link, a fun little cute hand washing video, as well as a hand washing picture card sort that they can do. And then when we talk about living and non-living, there's going to be a sort and a scavenger hunt that scholars will do. And then of course Brain Pop and YouTube. I use a lot of Brain Pop and YouTube. Once I get my Brain Pop login, I should be able to share it with you guys. For humanities, the resources for humanities, there's a KWL chart in there, which is always good to use. A community helper pictures for a matching game that we're going to do. Again, Brain Pop YouTube links. There's a jobs independent practice, and then a Venn diagram worksheet for whenever we talk about our families and when we're comparing and contrasting them to our friends' families. And I think that is it for now. remember, I will have office hours. We'll talk more about that during Collaboration Day. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon.